Soy loved the pond. It was muddy and messy. It was full of wiggly things. Today, Soy had his net, his special critter-catching net. He tiptoed to the water's edge. The sun was like a warm orange. It shone down on his curly hair. He felt a buzz in his tummy, a good sort of buzz. He hoped to catch something wonderful, perhaps a slippery newt with tiny toes, or a beetle with shiny green armor. He saw a flash of green. It was near a big, flat lily pad. The lily pad floated like a green plate. Soy crept closer, step by slow step. He moved like a secret agent, or a very sneaky fox. He did not want to scare his prize. The green thing was very still. Was it just a folded leaf? Or was it something alive? Something exciting? Soy held his breath. His heart went thump, thump, thump like a little drum inside his chest. With a sudden swoop, Soy dipped his net down into the cool, dark water. He lifted it out again, very, very carefully. Water dripped from the green mesh. Long, stringy weeds dangled down. And there, sitting in the middle? A frog. It was not a tiny frog. It was a big, plump frog, as green as a summer meadow. Soy grinned a huge grin. "Gotcha!" he whispered to himself. He felt like a champion frog catcher. Soy peered into his net. The frog blinked its golden eyes. It blinked them slowly, one after the other. It stared right back at Soy. Soy had caught many frogs before, hundreds maybe, but this frog was different. It did not try to leap away. It did not thrash or wriggle wildly. It just sat there, perfectly calm, as though it had been waiting for Soy and his net. How very, very peculiar indeed. Soy yelled for his best friend. "Leo! Leo, come and see!" Leo came dashing over. His red hair bounced as he ran. Leo was always ready for an adventure, especially if it involved mud or creatures. "What is it, Soy?" Leo panted. "Did you find a pirate's lost treasure?" Soy shook his head. His eyes were wide with excitement. "Better than treasure," he whispered. "Much, much better. Look at this." He held out the net for Leo to see. Leo bent down. He peered at the frog. His freckled nose almost touched the net. "Wow, Soy," he breathed. "He's a huge one, a real monster frog." Then Leo gasped, a funny, squeaky gasp. He pointed a wobbly finger. "Soy," he whispered, his voice all shaky. "Look at its face. Look really, really closely. Can you see them? On its nose?" Soy frowned. He bent down too. He looked at the frog's little green nose. What was Leo talking about? And then Soy saw them. He blinked. He rubbed his eyes. He looked again. Tiny, shiny things, perched right on the end of the frog's nose. They were spectacles, little round glasses. The frames were made of thin, silvery wire. The lenses sparkled like tiny dewdrops. A frog, wearing spectacles. This was not just peculiar. This was fantastical, impossible. They stared at the frog. The frog stared back, through its little glasses. "We must investigate this creature," Soy declared. His voice was full of importance. "This is no ordinary common or garden frog." Leo nodded slowly. His mouth was still hanging open like a broken gate. "The treehouse," Leo managed to say. "It's the only place. It's secret up there. No one will see us. Or this frog. This frog with its very strange eyewear." So ever so gently they lifted the net and carried the bespectacled frog towards the big oak tree where their amazing treehouse waited. Up the wobbly rope ladder they climbed. Soy went first. He held the net with great care. He did not want to jiggle the special frog. Leo followed right behind him. Their treehouse was their secret kingdom, filled with bottle caps and comics, and half-finished plans for daring deeds. They placed the net on an old wooden crate. The frog sat inside, as patient as a saint, still wearing its tiny, shiny glasses. The air in the treehouse was quiet. "Right then," Soy said. He tried to make his voice sound deep and brave, like a famous explorer. "Let's, have a word with it?" Leo snorted with laughter, a nervous sort of laughter. Talk to a frog, Soy? Have you eaten too many sweets? Soy shrugged his shoulders. Well, it's wearing glasses, isn't it, Leo? That's not normal frog behavior. Maybe it understands more than we think. He leaned closer to the net. Hello, Mr. Frog, Soy said very politely. Welcome to our humble abode. Our treehouse, I mean. The frog blinked its golden eyes. Once, twice. Then it cleared its throat. A tiny, rumbly, croaky sound, like pebbles rattling in a tiny tin. And then it spoke. Actually, the frog said, its voice was surprisingly clear and a little bit posh. It's Miss Frog, if you please, not Mr. Soy and Leo stumbled backwards. They almost fell off the crate. Their eyes stretched as wide as dinner plates. Their jaws dropped right down. Clunk! Onto the dusty floorboards of the treehouse. A talking frog! And I would be most grateful, she continued, her voice small but firm, if you would refrain from calling me it. The frog adjusted her spectacles. She used a tiny webbed hand to do it. My name is Esmeralda, and these spectacles you see are for reading important documents and fascinating books. Not merely for decoration, you understand. Esmeralda looked at them, over the top of her glasses. The boys were utterly, completely, gobsmackingly stunned. They could not utter a single word. Soy was the first to find his voice. It came out as a squeak. You can actually talk? He stammered. He pointed a trembling finger. Leo just gulped. He looked like he might faint. Esmeralda the frog sighed a little sigh, a very ladylike sigh for a frog. But of course I can talk, my dear boy, she said. Some of us amphibians are rather more gifted than others. It isn't every day one encounters an educated frog, now is it? She puffed out her green chest, just a tiny bit, looking quite pleased with herself. But how is it possible? Leo managed to whisper at last. His voice was barely a breath. Frogs don't talk. They just go ribbit, ribbit. Everyone knows that. Esmeralda let out a soft chuckle. It sounded like tiny bubbles popping. Oh, my dear child, is that what they teach you? How dreadfully limiting. The world is full of wonders, full of secrets and surprises, more than you could ever dream of in your little heads. You simply need to open your eyes, and more importantly, open your ears. The two boys were completely mystified, utterly flabbergasted. A talking frog, a frog named Esmeralda, who wore spectacles for reading and who sounded a little bit like their stern school librarian. It was the most astonishing thing, the most unbelievable, secret thing that had ever happened. In their beloved treehouse, or anywhere else in the whole wide world for that matter, they leaned in, closer and closer to Esmeralda, desperate to hear every single word she might say next. Why are you here, Esmeralda? Soy asked. His voice was hushed with awe. And why do you really wear those glasses? Esmeralda tapped a tiny webbed finger against her little green chin, thoughtfully. I was searching for a tranquil spot, you see, a quiet place to continue my studies. I am currently engrossed in a most thrilling novel. It is about a courageous dragonfly detective. The print is exceptionally small, hence the spectacles. She paused. Your pond was quite peaceful until your rather large net rudely interrupted Chapter 7. Suddenly, a familiar voice floated up from down below the oak tree. Soy, Leo, are you two scallywags up there? It was Soy's mum. Oh, crumbs! Panic shot through Soy like an electric shock. He looked at Leo. Leo's face was white as a sheet. They could not, absolutely not, let Mom see Esmeralda. She would never ever believe their story. Or worse, she might think they were ill. Or she might call the zoo. Or a man in a white coat. Quick! Soy hissed. His voice was a frantic whisper. We have to hide her now! Leo spun around. His eyes darted about the treehouse. Where could they possibly hide a talking frog? A talking frog who wore spectacles, no less? Under the old blanket? No, too lumpy. Inside Soy's empty crisp packet? No, too smelly. Esmeralda, however, seemed remarkably unruffled, as if hiding from curious mothers was an everyday occurrence for her. She even gave them a tiny froggy wink. "Just try to act naturally, boys," Esmeralda whispered back. Her voice was calm and cool. "And if you would be so kind as to pop me under that rather dashing old hat, the one with the interesting hole in the brim. I do appreciate a little ventilation, you know." Soy snatched his battered, floppy fishing hat, the one he used for sunny days. He gently, oh so gently, placed it over Esmeralda, just as the treehouse door creaked open. And Soy's mum poked her head inside. Her eyes narrowed. "What mischief are you two concocting now?" Mum asked. Her gaze swept around the cluttered treehouse. "Just, planning, Mum," Soy blurted out, a little too loudly, a little too quickly. Leo nodded his head furiously, up and down, like a woodpecker with a headache. "Yes, a very, very big plan. Top secret stuff." Mum smiled a knowing smile. "All right then, my little secret agents. Don't be up here too long. I've made lemonade and cookies." And then she was gone. Phew, that was a close shave. That was a... The moment Mum's footsteps faded, Soy snatched the hat away. Esmeralda was sitting there, looking perfectly composed, and not at all squashed. "My word," she remarked, adjusting her spectacles. That was a rather exciting interlude. Humans can be so very inquisitive, can they not? Soy and Leo let out huge sighs. Sighs of pure, unadulterated relief. Their hearts were still thumping, like wild things trapped in their chests. That had been far, far too close for comfort, for any of them. "You were brilliant, Esmeralda!" Leo exclaimed, his voice full of admiration. "And thank you for the tip about the hat," Soy added gratefully. Esmeralda seemed to puff out her green throat. "Just a fraction. Well, one does pick up a few things, through years of observation and study. Now about that advice you were seeking." She looked from Soy to Leo. Her bespectacled eyes were suddenly quite serious. "Always, always remain curious, my boys," she began. "But temper your curiosity with kindness, towards all creatures, great and small. Furthermore," Esmeralda continued, her voice clear and steady, "never ever judge a creature by its croak, or by its outward appearance. Sometimes the quietest individuals have the most fascinating tales to tell, and sometimes the very smallest amongst us prove to be the very bravest." She gave them a wise, knowing look. "Remember these small truths, and always, always wash your hands thoroughly after playing in the mud. That last point is of utmost importance, believe me." She nodded sagely. Then with a sudden, surprising agility, Esmeralda hopped onto the wooden railing of the treehouse. She turned back to face them, one last time. "I really must be on my way now," she said. "My thrilling novel awaits, and the dragonfly detective is in a rather sticky situation." She gave a little dip of her head, a sort of curtsy. "But thank you for the stimulating conversation, and the temporary, if somewhat dusty, lodgings. I may well pay you another visit, if you can promise to keep my little secret safe." And with a final, cheerful ribbit, farewell, my dears, she leapt out into the green, leafy world below, and was gone.